Stigma of war. Tom, two-time baritone showstopper, forced to bear the bayonet. With a not yet ripened face, his lack of lines were a testament to his inexperience. But when he smiled, the smooth expanse of skin stretched across his face like a taut blanket. He ought to put on some, they used to say. On the cusp of manhood, when the first wave of fire rained over the city, he wore the helmet a little too loosely. When morning came, he stepped into his boots and out into the dark ash cloud. Just a boy birthed into strife not his own, stepping over creeks and barbed wire. His fellows fell like rain beside him. The virgin who spent the night thrashing fell first. Then the fellow he bunked with, whose sweetheart portrait lay crumbled between broken fingernails. The soon-to-be priest, the jock, the fag, all dominoes in the wake of the unseen ember embrace. Mortar and gunfire, a steady stream of incandescence. When he toppled, he had hardly felt the splinter of the rubble that dug itself into him like the promise that it was. The notes hung in the air above, a sordid symphony that read, "Here lies Tom the baritone, a boy who is now dead."
6 kids die, and it's no one's fault. Underneath the crust of the earth, there is a circular room with 6 children. There is one light bulb in the middle of the room, and it has not worked in years. The children sit in darkness until the day Daniel lights a match on himself. They then gather around the fire. When the intercom buzzes on, the rest of them turn their heads upwards. But they know that the man behind the screen has died a long time ago, and that this is just a recording. "To the last one," the intercom repeats. The children shake their heads and move closer to the fire. 26 hours after Daniel lights himself, the fire dies out. They move back to their ends of the circle only to rejoin in the middle, and the light bulb turns itself back on. When they meet in the center, they notice that there are only 4 of them, and that Megan has died in the dark. 2 days after the light bulb burns out, they find her and burn her as well. There is a locked door on the perimeter of the circle. They had tried opening the door once, but it only repeated the message on the intercom. They stopped and never tried again. Beside the door, there is a pile of hammers and saws and needles. It is in that pile that Daniel found the match, and where Paul found the dagger, and where James found the iron rod, and where Alex found the wrench, and where Michael found a rusty nail. When the fire dies again, the 4 children move to their sides of the circle, watching each other, their hands clutching the tools beside them, gripping, shaking.
You have 5 minutes. She descends into the cool air of dim church basements, facing the sometimes professional singles eager to mingle. Bulbs flickering illuminate folding chairs occupying the far corner of the otherwise empty space. Begin now. First, a stained tie. Third button down, missing from the second shirt. Tense fists. Next. He seems sadder than most, more desperate. She almost listens to his torturous speech about lawyers and Ducatis and how much money he would need statistically to be happy, but it's useless. In 30 seconds, a worn brass bell will ring, and she sees that he will go home alone to tender gizzards that he'll think of deep frying until he remembers that his ex-wife took the deep fryer, along with the spatulas, the car oil, the little pink pills, and his morning sex. Dust collects around the once vase. Marks linger on every side of the once ex picture frame, picturing a former happiness. She wants to tell him this, but he will not understand. She is not here for him or for the other 19 men shuffling their bodies in a dance-like rotation. She leaves her card blank. Prolonging his romantic hiatus, she hopes his loss is enough to offset the waning depression on her living room sofa's left seat.
Scrappy. Born in a fluorescent hospital room with stains on the walls. All his early memories are filled with the stink of cigarettes. He winds his scarf securely around his pink neck and pulls his gray hunting hat down as far as it will go before pushing the door open and stepping outside. The entryway is covered in a thin film of icy slush that makes satisfying squelches with each step. Brought home and put in a room with 3 other beds and 3 more upstairs, but then God blessed his mother with uterine cancer. He waves goodnight to the other church members, talking together cheerfully, and starts down the sidewalk, the slush becoming deeper and denser. For the first few years of his life, he only knew of the small portion of grass between his front lawn and the chain-link fence with yappy terriers to one side and the snarling shepherds on the other. The bright light of the church entryway dims as he moves farther away, the cloudiness of the sky prohibiting the moon from illuminating his path. He moves slowly, hands shoved in pockets seeking the warmth of his belly, eyes focused downwards on each meaningfully placed step. Then grade school came, and he was jostled through a series of teachers with nondescript faces who scrunched their noses at his unwashed clothes and drew red lines through his phonetically spelled words. Most houses are dark by now, and no noise or television or chatter disturbs the peace. He hears a car coming long before the headlights shine on the dirty gray street, and it comes whizzing past. At the bus stop on the first day of 7th grade, he watched 3 boys kick his neighbor Travis until there was blood on the pavement, and then boarded the bus, leaving him behind, crying on the ground with his arms cradling his head. After 5 blocks, he stops under a lamp post. Under the soft glow, he examines a poster for a missing dog scrawled in his uneven script. That night, he sat on the porch until after dark, watching the cats chase after grasshoppers while his mom played solitaire through the screen door. The buzz of the light is a relief from the deep silence of the empty neighborhoods, and he lingers for a moment, studying the small houses lining the street, roofs supporting large mounds of snow. Sophomore year, he dropped out and got a job at the creamery down the road from the school, and wearing the dumb hat was worth the money. Pulling the scarf around his dry nose, he continues up the street and turns left on Post. Walking faster now so as to stay warm, he watches a couple carefully close their car doors, each cradling a sleeping bundle of baby on their shoulder. That same year, he found a gray mutt limping on the side of the highway, so he took it home and bought it some food and named it Scrappy. As he walks up the brick steps to his home, it begins to snow. He pauses, looking up at the swirling mass of white tarnishing the blue-gray sky. He and the dog go on long walks down the unpaved roads next to the lake, and he watches the smoke from his cigarette disappear into the trees. Hearing a whine, he looks up. On his doorstep is a large gray dog.